You got that? Kevin Mansfield, I think, sits down with one of CBN 700 Club's interviewers about working with the Beatles and the Beatles' last concert and what he learned from working with them. And it's 11:41 p.m. Pacific time, Thursday, April 25th, 2019, on The Lookout Guy. So that was like a quick news break. Now they're back at a commercial, but hey, at least you're going to get it from the beginning. And I just listened to probably a 10-minute segment of a man, looks like he's in his 40s, but when he was 11 years old, he stabbed his first victim, and he said that he imagined stabbing his own dad. And he got saved while he was in prison because he got put in solitary confinement in the juvenile facilities, but the solitary confinement, after attacking, almost strangling to death another junior inmate, juvenile, they took him to Folsom Prison, and he got saved by the chaplain, and he actually literally saw a vision of Jesus coming to him, and his first convert was a guy that came into his cell for initially at the juvenile facility for becoming a Christian. So any minute now. But those are the kind of stories that CBN specializes in. And Pat Robertson got to talk about this one, so that was real cool. And I've said the sinner's prayer many times with him and Terry Mewson. And she's still on the show also.
And his enduring message for Beatles fans.
After a storied career as a music executive, including a gig with Apple Records, Ken Mansfield says the high point came atop a roof in London. It was a cold January day in 1969. Ken was one of a few spectators at a private performance of the legendary Beatles, all told in his newest book, The Roof. The Roof. What roof? What are you talking about?
The top of the Apple building in Savile Row in downtown London.
And the Beatles, of course, were well known to my wife, Nedra, with the Ronettes, because they toured together.
Exactly.
That rooftop session was recorded for the Beatles' Let It Be film. But it wasn't just another performance. And actually, the Beatles had not played together
In 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
And also the last time they would ever play together?
Time. A strange thing happened that day. Now, I'm sitting about 4 to 6 feet away from them. And they started playing. And it was either John looked over at Paul or Paul looked over at John. And it was like they just looked at each other and went, you know what? This is us. We've been mates for a long time. We've done things nobody's ever done. We've been close forever. And right at this moment, this is who we are, a good rock and roll band. I wrote my favorite line in the book. I said they came up on the roof without a sound check, but they went back down the stairs with a soul check.
How well did you get along with the lads? You were with them a lot.
I got along with them real well. The interesting thing is when I worked with them in 65, and that was when they were just super on top, you know. It was only the second time they came to America, and I was this young guy with a suntan and a Cadillac convertible living in the Hollywood Hills in a house in a pool. And now they're working with a young guy their age. And so they start asking me a bunch of questions. like Where's Mulholland Drive, and Ringo wanted to know if I could introduce him to Buck Owens, because Buck was on Capitol. And that started a relationship, both as a business relationship and a personal relationship that developed out of that.
Looking back now, what do you want to convey?
Well, I want to convey that they were really nice guys.
Yeah.
I know they weren't perfect, and I know they had some times, and those times got more publicity than anything, but they were real people. I wanted people to get the feeling what it was like to be around them. So I also spent a lot of personal time with them, and there was just this sense of they were, I use the word common, because they grew up common, you know, and they never left that.
How did it affect you years later when John was shot?
Yeah.
And George died?
Yeah. Mainly when John died, because the dream was over. The Beatles were never going to reunite. And my sense of loss was not, wow, I lost a friend, I lost an associate, I lost something like that. My feelings was I went back into the universal sadness that we all shared. Everybody shared around the world. No more songs, you know, no more craziness, no more Beatles reuniting. And so it was a very, very emotional day.
And George, of course.
George, yeah. Well, George, we had time to think about, and we knew he was going.
But it was John who, that famous quote that got him in a lot of trouble, that they were more popular than Jesus now. How did that affect the thinking of the band and their lives at that point?
Well, John, and he has talked about this several times, and he told me, he said, that I was just trying to make a point. There's something wrong with the youth today, that they're worshiping a band instead of worshiping like Jesus.
Where did Jesus intersect your life?
He intersected my life when I was about as down as far as you could go. And then I met a young, beautiful lady who became my wife. And I had a guru, and I was broke, and I was a stoner, and I was bad news then. And one day she called and she said, we need to talk. And she said, I see where our relationship is going, and I have to make a choice between you and Jesus, and I choose Jesus.
Whoa.
I went home, and I thought, I want something to be so dear to me that I'm willing to give up something that's very important to me, which was our relationship. I thought, I want that. I want that more than anything. I became the spiritual head of our relationship, and I mean, I devoured the Bible. I didn't read anything but the Bible for 3 years. I mean, I was just all in.
This brings us, again to the book. Why did you write it? What do you want to say to people?
I realized what I had here was a chance for ministry. I'm a seed planter, and it was just a way to plant seeds. I wasn't trying to make a sale. I was just trying to plant some seeds. I thought, I've got the Beatles fans, and I'm staying true to them. I'm giving them all the things they want to know. So at the end, I want to talk to them about God now.
Bingo star.
Fascinating. Boy, he did have a front row seat to many things.
I really appreciate those guys. I mean, they were so creative. They put out about 260 or 70 original songs. I mean, they were very prolific. I mean, they go among the top composers of the world, and they weren't just singing other people's stuff. It was their own, and it was just terrific. One record after the other. It was amazing.
Yeah, well, they were, remember when they first came to America, they were on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Oh,
That's
man.
when they came, and it really impacted the culture.
Totally. Unbelievable. But I mean, it was just amazing how creative they were. I mean, they just whipped out song after song after song. And, Paul McCartney was being interviewed. He said, I can't even read music. And they would come into he'd know exactly how the sounds are supposed to go. An amazing group. Anyhow,
Very talented.
that's part of our culture. All right.
Well, still ahead. Pat's going to weigh in on the issues that matter to you. Rhonda asks, is it
Yep,
wrong for me
that's
to
pretty
accept
cool. All right, that's just a little quickie before I go to bed. Got to work tomorrow. Late shift. Until the next time on the Michael Tobin Show.